Welcome to the Church and Culture Podcast, a weekly discussion with Dr. James Emery White on the latest trends happening in culture and where and how the church should respond. Jim is the founding and senior pastor of Mecklenburg Community Church in Charlotte, North Carolina, president of Serious Times, a ministry devoted to exploring the intersection of faith and culture, former professor of theology and culture at Gordon Conwell Theological Seminary, where he also served as their fourth president, and the author of more than 20 books. I am your host, Alexis Dry, and I can't wait to dive into this week's conversation. Well, a few weeks ago marked the 20th anniversary of YouTube. I don't know about you, Jim, but I can hardly believe that's true. Considering that you and I both remember living before the internet, the fact that YouTube has been around for 20 years makes me feel so old. But anyways.
Well, how would you like to feel someone who was there before electricity?
Oh, gosh. Okay, anyways, few would have thought based on the first YouTube video, which, I don't know if you know this, was just a mere 19 seconds featuring a man filming elephants at the San Diego Zoo.
Talking about how long their noses were. That was what it was. You're right.
We've watched weirder things on YouTube. But anyways, nobody would have thought that this platform would completely revolutionize the way that we experience media. YouTube recently shared that 20 billion videos have been uploaded to its platform to date. So in today's conversation, we're going to highlight some of the ways that it has done that, revolutionized media and how it's done that. Jim, that first video that I mentioned was shot by Jawed Karim, and he was actually one of the founders of YouTube. He didn't last long with YouTube, but he was able to see a video go viral on his platform just a few months after they launched it. Can you talk to us a little bit about the early years of YouTube, like what contributed to its initial success?
Yeah, there are a lot of good overviews of the history of YouTube, and anyone interested in cultural history or just looking at things from in our world should be a good student of YouTube. Anyway, we'll post some that I've drawn from and learned from the most in the show notes. YouTube was launched in early 2005, February, if my memory serves, but I could be wrong on that. Which means if you know your cultural history, that was in the pre-iPhone phase of the internet, though it would quickly benefit from the iPhone when that came out in 2007. So it's about 18 months later or so. It started out as what many would call kind of a quirky site. I mean, you're right. I mean, it was you uploaded funny, random videos, kind of like a do-it-yourself television series or service. Today, it's this global media powerhouse and home to everything from movie trailers to video podcasts and live streams and much more. YouTube's presence is so deeply ingrained into modern digital culture that Nielsen data from June of last year found that it had a bigger share of the U.S. TV screen time than Netflix. And it just passed. I just saw this week. They just passed or are forecasted to now pass Disney in terms of revenue. Now, when you think Disney's a huge media, company that owns like ABC and owns, ESPN and a lot of other, global things. Those are the major media company globally. And they just passed Disney in terms of revenue, making it that they are now the top global player in media. But back to its history, it was founded in 2005 by, they were all former employees of PayPal, if you're familiar with that particular app. And they wanted a platform that would make it easy to upload, view, and share videos because it just didn't exist at the time. And they found that user-generated content, too, was like really entertaining to people. I mean, people just kind of enjoyed seeing it. And it began to drive traffic. I mean, significant traffic to their site. By the end of 2005, YouTube was already seeing millions of viewers per day before they even were a year old. YouTube also had its first truly viral video happen that year in December. And it's one that actually got a lot of press recently because people were showing it again. And the reason is because we just had the anniversary of Saturday Night Live, the 50th of that, and the first viral video on YouTube was a video done by Andy Samberg for Saturday Night Live. It was called Lazy Sunday. Anyway, a lot of trivia nobody probably cares about other than me. Anyway, but in its second year, YouTube was acquired by Google for just $1.5 billion, something like that. It was like now it's just you just cringe. Companies think, "Gosh, I could have gotten YouTube for that back then." But it was one of Google's obviously smartest moves. It gave them inroad into the whole online video market, as well as another outlet for securing advertising video and revenue. YouTube, to kind of continue its history, went on to produce viral stars like Mr. Beast, whose videos featuring these elaborate challenges and large-scale stunts have made him one of the biggest celebrities to emerge on the platform. His channel last year, I was reading, had like 310 million subscribers and had accumulated a total of 56 billion, that's with a B, views. Other big milestones for YouTube included the Korean rapper Psy, Gangnam Style, that song that was released in 2012. It became the first YouTube video to reach 1 billion views. It was the first one to do that. And it brought all of K-pop, into mainstream culture around. The platform itself reached 1 billion monthly users in 2013. It hit 1 billion hours. I just got a few of these facts here. 1 billion hours of daily watch time in 2016. So in a nutshell, YouTube was and is this ridiculously, wildly successful sharing platform where the content is totally supplied by people outside of YouTube. YouTube doesn't pay a dime for all the content that is fueling their site. Nice business plan. But if you want to put it a little more academically, YouTube is what they did was they democratized video distribution and transformed the internet into something highly participatory, a participatory medium. So what made it so popular? Most would point to 3 or 4 things that really, made it emerge. First was how easy it was to now upload and share content. When YouTube started, that was unparalleled. I mean, the average person just couldn't do it. And YouTube just made it like where anybody can suddenly create, upload content, and post it there. You got a camera, you've got internet access, you can become a content creator. That had never happened before. Second, the advent of social media and the subsequent viral spread of videos obviously contributed to YouTube's growth. And again, this is something that we now take for granted, but was very unique at the time. Online videos could suddenly be shared. See? You didn't share a video before, so suddenly it could be shared. Like we talk about a viral video from a wedding where the groomsman dropped the cake or something funny happened and it gets several million views. Nobody would ever even known that happened, obviously, prior to YouTube, because not only may it not have been filmed, but it certainly would have been posted anywhere. So anyway, these videos could suddenly be shared across all different platforms and embedded within blogs and emailed between friends, and making a single clip have almost unlimited potential to spread because it quickly left YouTube. It just became, that, and that's what we mean when we say something goes viral. Another pivotal moment came when the appearance of those first viral video hits, because it captivated this wide audience, showcased the potential of the platform, but it also demonstrated, and this was key to YouTube's success, their unique value to advertisers and investors. So suddenly they looked at this thing that may have seemed like some quirky, video site, and the first video that went viral, and all of a sudden they're saying, wait a minute, 1 billion people just looked at that. That's better than the Super Bowl. You got my advertising money. So finally, the community. The final thing that has made it popular is that the community aspect of YouTube plays a huge role, because what you have with YouTube, which again was novel at the time, was users could comment, they could rate, they could interact with content creators, and it fostered this new online community that was engaging, and it was dynamic, and it was participatory, and so that sense of community combined with this unprecedented access to this vast array of content fueled YouTube's growth into what is now a household name.
The New York Times featured a timeline of YouTube's most popular videos of the year, which was a fun walk down memory lane. I mean, everything from Charlie Bit My Finger to that, forgive me, but very obnoxious music video by a 13-year-old girl called Friday, which I'm still trying to get out of my brain. You already mentioned Gangnam Style, the beginning of unboxing videos, ASMR whispering,
You're
and
not going to leave out Baby Shark.
Baby Shark and Baby
Baby
Shark.
Shark.
If we
Now that just saying that, we have just messed up people's entire day. They will not get that out of their head.
Well, if we allowed YouTube to serve as a sort of window to culture, what does it show us about ourselves?
That's a difficult question to answer, to be honest with you, because it's such a vast platform that showcases so many different things. So rather than a monolithic kind of reflection, it just shows, it can be so niche oriented and so highly segmented. There's literally billions of videos, that have been uploaded. So, but if you look at that, but here's how you can go at that question a little bit, I think. And that's if you look at the most watched videos. And you do see some patterns. And of the top 10 most watched videos on YouTube of all time, 5 are for children, very young children. Actually, 4 of the top 5 are for children. I mentioned Baby Shark, that's number 1. But then coming in at number 3 is a video built around the children's song Wheels on the Bus, which I think everybody's probably heard, followed by this thing called the Bath Song, for when it's bath time. And then rounding out the top 5 is one called Johnny, Johnny, Yes, Papa. I wrote that down. I have not actually heard that one. I'm going to try to protect myself a little bit. But they're all songs for very young children. So you could say, if you were a bit of a cynic, that the YouTube videos show that we are using videos for babysitting or at least to keep somebody quiet. But everything else is also a song. It's very music driven with, music videos for adults, and it's all individuals and groups. So when you look at the entire list of the top 100, which I actually went back and did this past week, looked at every single one, just, what it was of the 100 most watched YouTube videos of all time. Every single one of them was either a video for a child, a very young child, or a music video by an artist for adults. That was it. Not a single do-it-yourself video, not anything educational, not anything religious or spiritual, no TED Talks or anything like that. Not that those aren't popular and not that they can have millions of views, but the bottom line is that we seem to go to YouTube for entertainment, and particularly musical entertainment, either for ourselves or for our young children.
YouTube, though, isn't just a window. It is a culture shaper. I already mentioned that it introduced things like ASMR and unboxing videos, but that's really just scratching the surface. What else, beyond what you've already mentioned, has YouTube brought into our lives?
It would be difficult to overstate what a seismic shift in media and culture YouTube introduced. And rather than say, we'll introduce do-it-yourself composting or something like that, or ASMR or something like that. What I think the headline is what it introduced culturally as a medium. I think that's the more pressing, pertinent thing. It's been called a sweeping disruption that challenged the entire traditional media landscape. For example, established networks and content producers found themselves suddenly competing with an open platform that allowed anybody to be a broadcaster. Now, think about the implications of just that. It single-handedly, and I used this word earlier, but it's an important word, it single-handedly democratized content creation and distribution, enabling people to bypass the conventional gatekeepers of entertainment and news. That had never happened before. Now, some might say, well, that sounds like a good thing. Well, In some areas, maybe it is. In some areas, it's nightmarish. Because gatekeeping can work positively or negatively. It can protect us, or it can open our minds to things that we need, or it can infect us. So it gave anyone and everyone a platform to say anything and everything they wanted. And again, right or wrong, good or bad, true or false. Now, tie that in with the fact that YouTube's engagement is driven by an algorithm, combining user data and machine learning to predict which videos you might want to watch next. In other words, it's going to feed you things. And then you can begin to see how things like radicalization and conspiracy theories take hold. You type in something and it keeps feeding you other related videos. And before you know it, you can be led down any number of rabbit holes. I don't want to, be controversial for controversy's sake. But I mean, you could like type in, should I get a measles vaccine? Or are measles vaccines harmful to me or something? Or you phrase it in such a way that you immediately get like a website that says, oh yeah, don't get a measles vaccine. So you go onto that website and you read that. And then when you click and you watch that, guess what? Your feed is now going to be populated with nothing but anti-measles vaccine feeds. And you're thinking you're doing research and you're seeing all this stuff, and you can walk away with this idea that, oh my gosh, it's a slam dunk from every quarter. You don't want to get a measles vaccine. Because look, I'm doing the research and that's everything that I'm reading. And yet again, I'm not, obviously I don't have any problem with the measles vaccine, but I know that there's some people, it's a conversation right now that I'm not wanting to get into here. My point culturally is that you think you're doing research and you're not, you're being manipulated. And at least you're being fed a certain line that if you're not discerning, you don't realize you're not doing research at all. You're being fed an algorithm of things based on what you initially either phrased the question to be or what videos you clicked. And so it can be, and this is why I found it interesting. I am kind of chasing some rabbits here, but this to me is such a huge cultural issue. I read recently, I think it was Pew, and I don't have this on the forefront of my exact specificity. Maybe we can find out what I'm referring to and link to it in the show notes, because I think I did put it as a news item in the Church and Culture site. But it found that now, because of YouTube, because that's where we go to for information and the way the algorithms work and the way everything works with it and all of social media, we now trust a friend for medical advice more than we do a doctor. We'll trust what I find on some YouTube video or what my friend says they did for their child when they had this illness more than we will a doctor. And it's just created this really different kind of world in terms of information and how we interact with each other and how we learn things, and even the role and place of wisdom and training and science and what is a fact and what is truth. These are really deep things. But you see how YouTube works is that by democratizing this, I mean, you could say, okay, like if we were in China or something and they were preventing information getting out, you would say the democratization of knowledge, like through something like YouTube, is a good thing because now it's not being screened by the government. But you could also say the bad thing is anybody and their brother can start a site. And if you have enough slick graphics and you can put up facts and figures and studies, even if they're not true, even if they're not documented, even if you made them up, but it all looks really good. And then that site that you went to was convincing, and that leads you to another site, and then your feed starts giving you all that stuff. And before you know it, you've gone down a rabbit hole. And people will come out of that rabbit hole many times believing incredibly insane things that are not grounded in reality at all. And it's not just like something like with medicine or something. It could be, this is how you get radicalized for something like Islam and a lot of other things. And so it's a very, very serious thing. So anyway, let me get off that. I just, on that little rant, but I mean, it is, I can't overemphasize enough how the something can hold both promise and peril. So Yeah, I'll just stop there.
Well, as part of their recent anniversary celebration, YouTube shared some of its stats and also announced some upcoming features. How can we expect it to continue to shape culture based on what it has planned?
Oh, I mean, I because of their anniversary that you mentioned, they did a pretty major news release about where they're going technologically, and it is technology. I mean, they're just cutting edge. They're just pouring so much money into this. Um, they've already done some interesting things. They introduced high definition video back in 2008, but that was cutting edge at that time. They had live streaming technology that they then added, and then um, so they've always been pushing the envelope when it comes to this. And then they started dedicated platforms like YouTube Music, which has revolutionized how we discover and listen to music, giving rise to a whole new era of music streaming that kind of redefined music streaming and how we did it. They've got another channel, YouTube Kids, for that. They've expanded their features to include community tabs and stories and more, all enhancing the ways in which creators can engage with their audience, creating this community interaction. Um, the real future with YouTube that they would say, and most outside observers would certainly say, is going to be with artificial intelligence, and using AI with their algorithms to ever more increasingly personalize content recommendations and improve user experience. And it's also expanding into all new content domains, YouTube TV. They're getting into the streaming television market. So yeah, they're getting into a lot of TikTok kind of stuff because TikTok has done quite well with short form, and so they're getting into a lot more short form content and short form channels. And so they're going to, some say just take over the world. It's like they've already conquered all this. Now they're going to conquer Netflix and Amazon and everything else, and just keep going. And however successful they may or may not be, they are certainly going to remain at the forefront of the digital content revolution for years to come.
Hmm. Well, knowing how ubiquitous YouTube is to our everyday lives and how effective it has been in reaching people, it's natural that churches would be curious as to how they might leverage the platform to reach others for Christ. I've heard you talk about this at one of our church and culture conferences that you hold. So would you mind sharing a bit about this now with our listeners?
Yes. Excuse me. One of the most important things to understand in our world is that evangelism is not conducted primarily door to door, but medium to medium. Let me say that again. It's not door to door. It's medium to medium, specifically social media, and even more specifically, visually driven social media. So the influence of something like YouTube just cannot be overstated for the cause, for the sake of the cause and the mission. Studies have, I mean, just think about like who we're trying to reach. We're trying to reach, let's just say, an unchurched member of Generation Z. They don't know Jesus at all, and we're trying to reach them. Okay, let's talk about that person and YouTube. When you ask someone in Generation Z, studies show that if you ask them, how do you want to learn something? Like you want to learn about the Christian faith or whatever, you want to learn about something. How do you want to do it? They said, I want to watch something on YouTube. Specifically, they actually mentioned that platform. I want to learn about it on YouTube. 95% of all teens say, and I can't live without YouTube. You can take away everything else, but I can't live without YouTube. It's the primary way they get their news. It's the number one place they go to be entertained. It's the top go-to for shopping recommendations. A survey of more than 1,000 children between the ages of 6 and 17 by the travel company First Choice found that 75% now want a career on YouTube or it's somehow in online videos. And so 4 out of every 10 children are uploading videos to YouTube by the time they reach 15. So when you say, what does this mean for the church? Well, get on that medium and start reaching the world because that's where the world is. It'd be very akin to saying, okay, well, the most unchurched people's group in the world is in this Amazon River basin, and say, well, let's go to that Amazon River basin and reach them for Christ. Okay, where's the largest unchurched people in the world? They're on YouTube. So you better go there. Hop on a plane and go there. And while I talk about how you might do that at greater length in my book, Hybrid Church, which we'll put in the show notes, I can simplify this, I think, down to just three things. There's a lot more, but let me just give you three for the sake of time. You need to post on YouTube as a church. You need to YouTube your website, and you need to market on YouTube. First, post on it. Start a YouTube channel. It's increasingly common for churches of all sizes to self-produce videos that are used in weekend services and student ministry, and children's ministry, and discipleship efforts. Why not start your own YouTube channel for those videos? Or even better, develop multiple channels. One for your children's ministry, one for your music team, one for your weekend messages, and on it can go. Such channels not only reinforce what, say, a child learned on the weekend, so parent can have a child go back and get another emphasis on that lesson from that weekend, but it's an easy way for you to share it with your friends. We've had so many people, for example, come to MEC because they said, well, I saw something from you guys on YouTube. But huge numbers come. Yeah, I had a friend send me something that MEC Kids did, and we liked it and started watching, and then we started coming. So it was that progression. And when you, so I would start a YouTube channel. Then, and when you do that, it doesn't have to be like, don't be intimidated by that. Because it doesn't have to be like hyper professional, hyper slick. Most stuff on YouTube isn't. These are things made with your iPhones. And so, you can have it be that way, but they have identifiable styles and cuts and vibes and angles and stuff. So take cues from that. Our children's ministry team, for example, tracks the most popular YouTube channels oriented toward children to stay abreast of style and then develop videos in similar fashions as a way of being a cultural bridge. So take cues from what's out there and again, start producing some things for Jesus. That would be helpful. And so we understand that YouTube is a place where people go to search and get how-to for information. And so we know they want to be shown things. They don't want to read about it. And so we want to be a source for them. So we are constantly keeping our content fresh and updated, getting videos in front of as many people as possible. The source of answering questions about the faith, relevant topics from a Christian perspective, and to gain credibility. So we're constantly doing that. And so we're putting out like multiple videos a week. I don't that even how much that our various teams are doing. Every week we create and we post 5 different devotionals. The weekend message gets posted, between 1 to 4 YouTube shorts, an info piece called the MEC Minute. And all of that doesn't even include what's being produced by our student ministries, special events, children's ministries, announcement pieces, marketing spots, website videos, internal promotional videos, and on it goes. But just so people know, it's not hard to do. All you have to do to start a YouTube channel is to open up a Google business account. That's all you got to do. It's not difficult. So that's first. Second, YouTube your website. And here's what I mean by that. Fewer people today will read an ad. They're much more likely to watch one. They don't read a movie review. They want to watch a short a trailer like on IMDb or something. So when it comes to your website, is it video-based or is it article-based? Rethink your website, move away from extensive writing, and start replacing it with numerous short videos that present information about the page that they're visiting. Emphasis on short. If they see a video, and you can always see it when you click, you see how long it's going to be. If they see a video that lasts 12 minutes, they're going to watch it. They see that it lasts less than 2 minutes, they might start it. That's the appeal of TikTok, and everything's short. So fit people's attention spans. Finally, market through YouTube. Reach out through YouTube. And that's a little different than just posting your material on it. If churches used to take out ads in the yellow pages or use billboards, or they sent out direct mail pieces to certain zip codes, Now they better be doing something on YouTube. And specifically using, I don't want to get too technical in language here, but over the top or pre-roll digital video ads. And what I mean by that is, when you click on a video on YouTube and before you can watch it, there's a little commercial that comes on. That's what this is. That's why designing a commercial that runs before somebody watches something. That's why it's called over the top or pre-roll. The reason that's important to do is because that's where people are. I mean, that's where you're going to reach them. That's where they're going to see any type of marketing content. And that lets us target users because we can say where we want to advertise, or at least to the age demographic that we want to advertise to. And so we're able to segment who it is we're reaching based on those algorithms of what people are wanting to watch. It all kind of comes back. It can work for you. So what we do is we have like we'll run 30-second spots that you can skip. We'll also run 6-second spots that you can't skip unless you want to get out of watching that video entirely. We have it be tracking so that if you watch one of our videos, we're going to feed you more of our videos. In other words, the kinds of things that I was just talking about that can be done badly, in a way that's misleading or leads you toward things, can also be done in a good way for Christ. And so that we're trying to use those same approaches. But the point of it all, again, is the same. We're trying to reach people on YouTube because they are watching it, they are learning from it, they are researching through it, they are searching for things. It is the principal medium of our day. So if you want to reach that world as a Christian church, you need to understand it and you need to use it. And there's just nothing that I can begin to fathom biblically that would make you not want to do that, but everything for the mission that would make you want to do that. Now, if you're an old person, you're listening to this, and this is mind-blowing, and you're, involved in the leadership of church, that I can't do that, don't want to do that, yada, yada, yada. Okay, that's not going to play well with me because I'm probably older than you. But the second thing I would say is, well, start hiring young and start enlisting younger volunteers. And who would love to have a ministry, but they don't feel like that they can. But they're natural videographers, they're posting things, they're creative. Just start bringing these people into your world. It's not your native language, okay, but it's their native language. And so you need to start bringing this into your leadership in the church.
Awesome. Well, I feel like I have to mention that if you're used to listening to us in this podcast every week, guess what? We're on YouTube. So if you'd like to ever watch us, we hope you'll subscribe to the Church or Culture page or channel, and you can also share our videos.
Find out what Alexis looks like.
Oh, or don't. Actually, you know what? We're not on YouTube. Just kidding. But yeah, we would love to have you visit.
What does she look like?
Oh, yeah. Much shorter. Or maybe I guess you can't tell that on video, but yeah. Anyways, we would love to have you join us on that channel and really to share as well. So you can share our videos with people who you think would find them helpful or interesting. But we hope this was helpful and interesting to you, and we hope you'll join us again next week for another great conversation.